Hey y'all, it's me Nina and I'm back with another video for this week, and this week we're going to be looking at Beth Moore's Condemnation of Trumpism and how it is a watershed moment for Christians. And I'm really excited to talk about this article. It was originally published on Relevant Magazine, so I will link down the original article down below. And yeah, let's go into it. Let's start talking about it. If you're new to this channel, my name is Nina, as I already mentioned. I like responding to Christian media, and I also share vlogs, which include my daily life as a teacher. And I hope the lighting's okay. It's just like a weird time of day, and the light's like very intense. So yeah, it might be shining on me kind of strangely. So hopefully that's not distracting, and hopefully that's fine. But I really wanted to talk about this because I've talked about Trump before my channel. I've talked about being a Christian and being a Biden supporter, or being a Christian and being a Trump supporter, and just how divisive this all is to the body of Christ. And Beth Moore is a very public Christian figure. She actually, I believe she's a well-known Christian artist. So she is an American evangelist, author, and Bible teacher, founder of Living Proof Ministries, a Bible-based organization for women based in Houston, Texas. And oh yes, I've actually read one of her books before. She wrote Believing God. She's written Breaking Free, Chasing Vines, A Heart Like His. So she is a very well-known Christian writer. And there's actually other articles I'm realizing right now where she writes for there's an article on the Christian Post, as well as WLBT, that is available as well. And I'll link all of those down below in case you want to see a variety of sources that are talking about what she has shared and her stance on Trumpism. And I actually had to look up, like, what is a watershed moment? It just means basically like a very pivotal, very like turning point moment. And basically, there was a rally where individuals took to Washington, D.C., and it was called Stop the Steal. And they're accusing President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. And there's basically been a lot of allegations about the election. Previous President Trump was the biggest sore loser I think we've all ever seen. And I remember watching his show The Apprentice, and he had a very no-nonsense attitude towards failure, and I'm sure that's helped him out many times in his life because he will do anything to win. And I remember even before, he said he would consider it all a failure if he lost the election the first time around, like it would have all been a waste, it would have all been a wash. And I guess that mentality really goes into how he operates even with things that he clearly has lost. And if you have the mentality, that means that you can try to take away the wins that other people have rightfully gained. And yeah, there are a bunch of Christians who are rallying and who just believe so wholeheartedly that Trump is their advocate and Trump is everything and Trump is what they should be standing for, or that even now, despite all of the evidence to the contrary, that he still is, that he still deserves to win. And it really just points to the fact that he's a sore loser, and like I always feel sometimes afraid to say these things, so I'm like, but I doubt President Trump is watching my little YouTube channel or whatever. But yeah, and Beth Moore was not afraid to say what she believed, and she writes in her tweets, I do not believe these days for mincing words. I'm 63 and a half years old and have never seen anything in the United States of America I found more astonishing, seductive, and dangerous to the saints of God than Trumpism. This Christian nationalism is not of God. Move back from it. Fellow leaders, we have held responsible for remaining passive in the days of seduction to save our own skin, while the saints we've been entrusted to serve are being seduced, manipulated, used, and stirred up to the lather of zeal devoid of the Holy Spirit for political gain. And God help us, we don't turn from Trumpism to Bidenism. We do not worship flesh and blood. We do not place our faith in mortals. We are the church of the living God. We can't sanctify idolatry by labeling a leader our Cyrus. We need no Cyrus. We have no king. His name is Jesus. And I was even talking to a group of friends about this, but there is nothing less appealing to the non-believer than seeing a bunch of white Christians get rallied up to support Trump, or you know what, minority Christians getting rallied up to support Trump, because it just is the antithesis, I can't even say it, but you guys know what I'm talking about, like that, you know, that word. It is the opposite of what it means to really stand for Christ. And although I don't agree with everything that Glennon Doyle wrote in her memoir Untamed, she does talk about, I believe it was Ronald Reagan, and the first time we saw a lot of white evangelicals backing a political candidate in the name of Christ, when really it was to support their own selfish reasons, you know? And I think that the minute you place something like, okay, abortion, you know, like if you're a Christian, you can't possibly vote for this other thing because like this candidate is supporting, saying that abortion is wrong, so you have to support him. And it creates like such a situation where you're labeled as a bad Christian for not voting for a different cause, but really there are so many nuances and different dimensions and meanings to what it means to be a true follower of God. And following Trump, advocating for Trump, and doing all these things, it could actually be the worst witness to people in your lives who are not Christians, and it could be so unappealing to people who maybe were curious about God or wanted to learn about God, but then see the types of images being shown, or the voice of many Christians who are so like following Trump despite everything else. And when you see someone like Beth Moore saying, no, we're not worshiping fleshed mortals, we're not it's not like a political candidate represents God, I think it just means a lot, you know, especially for a lot of Christians who felt like, man, am I alone in this? And Beth Moore is someone who's really established herself in the Christian space. So for her to be saying that means a lot too. And I remember when I first made like a video, I guess I've like established more of a different audience since my time on YouTube. And I did actually make a video sometime back about Trump, but I didn't get the same kind of responses that I got more recently. But I do have people who are subscribed to me who follow Trump, and I guess this is a question for you as well. How? You know, and you can explain in the comments down below, and what are your thoughts on what Beth Moore has said, because Trump has clearly lost the election. And again, if I hear one more person telling me that like, oh, I support his policies and not the person, I'm just like, okay, cool, you know? And at the end of the day, I cannot condemn anyone for their political choice, and I ask to not be condemned for the fact that I may have a different political view than what you have. But I am really glad to see Beth Moore talk about this and talk about the danger of following someone like Trump, and to follow Christian nationalism more than actual Christianity. And you know what, that can look very different for many people, because for some people, Christian nationalism can be more appealing than God. For some people, Christian community can be more appealing than God. For some people, Christian service can be more appealing than God. And it's a temptation that we can all fall into. But at the end of the day, are we actually following the tenets of what we believe? Are we actually demonstrating and living out a Christ-like existence? And I say this as someone who must ask that same question to myself. So yeah, Christian nationalism is really, really frightening. And I was actually just reading with my 11th grade students. We're reading The Great Gatsby, and there's a line where Tom talks about the white race and how it's going to be submerged by all these minorities and whatever. And there are a lot of people who are Trump followers who also genuinely believe that. They're afraid of the white race being totally taken over, and they use the name of Christian nationalism to perpetuate their racism and their homophobia and all of their beliefs. And we really have to raise questions as human beings caring for other human beings. What are we going to stand for? What are we going to support? And yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I think it's so easy to confuse our walk with God as as kind of like a free license to do certain things that maybe actually would not be what God would be proud of, you know? And there is so much, there's so much up for debate in regards to what it means to follow God and when that line gets blurred, because I can see how maybe someone thinks that following a certain Christian candidate may be glorifying God, but you kind of have to dig beneath the surface as well and see not just like a particular issue or a particular cause, but like the larger holistic image of it, you know? Like, is this vote truly glorifying God? And why am I really voting for Trump? Is like this the real reason? And again, I don't want to isolate anyone who watches my videos who is a Trump supporter, but I do think we do need to point out the roots of a lot of the reasons why people choose to follow Trump or choose to vote for Trump, and the really present dangers of it, and why like we should question it, or why we should have talks about it, or even why it may not be okay. But that's all for right now, and I'd love to see your comments. If you disagree with me, please comment down below, because I've learned more over time that it's so easy to paint a Trump voter a certain way, and to also paint someone who doesn't support Trump a certain way. But until we actually have candid conversations where we're not judging each other, but we can just voice what we really think, we can't move forward. And I will acknowledge I do hold a little bit of judgment, but I'm sure you may hold a little bit of judgment as well. And we can have a conversation about it and what it means to follow Christ, and if you agree or disagree with some of the points I've made. And yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'm looking forward to seeing your comments.